On the night of July 20th, 1969, the world came to a silent standstill. Televisions glowed in black and white, radios crackled with static, and over 600 million people held their breath. At exactly 10:56 p.m. Eastern Time, a calm, crackling voice echoed across Earth from 250,000 miles away. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. With those powerful words, Neil Armstrong became the first human in history to walk on the moon. It was a moment not just for America, but for all of humanity, a symbol of courage, science, and hope. The journey to this historic step had begun 4 days earlier, on July 16, 1969, at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. A mighty rocket, the Saturn V, roared to life, carrying the Apollo 11 spacecraft into space. On board were 3 brave astronauts: Neil Armstrong, the commander, Buzz Aldrin, the lunar module pilot, and Michael Collins, who stayed in the command module while the others landed. These men weren't just astronauts. They were symbols of a promise made by President John F. Kennedy years earlier, who had boldly declared that America would send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth before the decade ended. Their mission was not just about science, it was also about competition. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a fierce race for space dominance. The Soviets had shocked the world by launching the first satellite and sending the first human into orbit. Now, the US wanted to make history by being the first to land on the moon. It was a mission full of risks. No one had ever done anything like it before, and even small mistakes could mean death. After entering the moon's orbit, Armstrong and Aldrin boarded the lunar module, called Eagle, and began their descent. What followed was a moment of pure tension. As they approached the surface, Armstrong realized the computer was guiding them toward a rocky crater. With calm under pressure, he took manual control of the craft. Fuel was running dangerously low. Ground control in Houston fell silent. With only 20 seconds of fuel left, Armstrong found a flat spot and landed. Then came the historic announcement. "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." Cheers erupted on Earth. Humanity had made it. Armstrong stepped out first, slowly descending the ladder. The gray, dusty surface of the moon stretched before him. As he placed his boot on the lunar ground, he spoke the words that would go down in history. A few moments later, Aldrin joined him, describing the landscape as magnificent desolation. The 2 astronauts planted the American flag, took photographs, collected rocks, and even conducted a phone call with the US president. Back in orbit, Michael Collins remained alone in the command module, circling the moon in solitude, waiting for his crewmates to return. The cost of reaching the moon was enormous. The entire Apollo program had cost the US government over $25 billion in 1960s, money which would be more than $150 billion today. It involved over 400,000 scientists, engineers, and workers across the country. It was proof that human determination and teamwork could achieve the impossible. On July 24, 1969, after spending over 8 days in space, the Apollo 11 crew returned safely to Earth, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, where they were recovered by the US Navy. Yet, despite the overwhelming celebration and global pride, the moon landing has always carried an air of mystery. Some people believe it never happened. They point to the waving flag in the photos, the lack of stars in the sky, and strange shadows in the images. Conspiracy theories suggest it was filmed in a studio, possibly by Hollywood director Stanley Kubrick. NASA has always firmly denied these claims, and experts have explained every detail. The flag moved not because of wind, but because of the force of being planted. The stars weren't visible because of the camera exposure settings, and the shadows matched natural light angles. In addition, the astronauts brought back real moon rocks, and laser reflectors placed on the moon are still used today to measure the distance from Earth. The moon landing had both amazing achievements and serious criticisms. On the positive side, it pushed the limits of technology, improved computer systems, inspired millions of young minds, and united a divided world. However, some questioned its price, especially while poverty, war, and civil rights struggles were ongoing in the US. Others felt that after such a grand achievement, the US failed to continue exploring the moon in depth. In fact, after Apollo 17 in 1972, no humans have walked on the moon again. Neil Armstrong, the man behind the famous step, became a quiet hero. Despite his fame, he chose a life of privacy, teaching engineering and avoiding the spotlight. He died in 2012 at the age of 82. Yet his name, his courage, and his legacy will live forever.